Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुं सस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु Om Shanti 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 Hare Om. Om. O gods, may we always hear with our ears what is auspicious. O worshipful ones, may we with our eyes always see what is auspicious. May we live our allotted life hale and hearty, offering our worship unto thee. May Indra of ancient fame bestow auspiciousness on all of us. May the all-nourishing portion be propitious to all of us. May Garuda, the destroyer of all evil, be well disposed towards all of us. May Brihaspati ensure all our welfare. Om, peace. Peace, peace be unto all. We have been studying the Kaivalya Upanishad. There was a great rishi called Ashvalayana. He wanted to get the highest knowledge, supreme Brahman, supreme Brahmagnana. So he approached Parameshti and then surrendered himself completely. He was endowed with Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, Yoga, and he took refuge at the feet of the Guru. That is the meaning of carrying fire sticks. That is, like fire sticks, which are used to burn. I am prepared to burn myself in the form of doing sadhana so that I can achieve my final desire, which is God realization. In that respect, in our last class we have seen Nirguna Upasana was very difficult, but Saguna Upasana is far easier. Not really that easy, but comparatively, compared to Nirguna, Nirakara Upasana, the worship, contemplation of the that reality which is beyond body, speech and mind, beyond the three bodies. Compared to that, worshipping God with bhakti and then surrendering oneself to Him is a bit easier. We have seen how Totapuri Maharaj had asked Sri Ramakrishna to remove every thought, because Totapuri Maharaj had realized here is a man who is fit. What does it mean in terms of what we are discussing? Just as Parameshti had recommended Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana and Yoga, so Totapuri Maharaj realized this person is fit already. Therefore, voluntarily, by God's will, Divine Mother's will, he felt, I would like to initiate you into Mahavakya or Sannyasa. And Sri Ramakrishna, of course, he said, I don't know anything, only my mother knows. And then, after all that, one fine early morning, the initiation ceremony, lighting up the fire, and offering what we call so many things with particular type of mantras called Viraja Homa mantras, where completely I and mine are offered in the form of so many words. My body, my sense organs, my mind, my gunas, everything. And after that, the Guru asked Sri Ramakrishna, now remove all thoughts. And how could the Guru say, remove all thoughts? Because he knew that Sri Ramakrishna was capable of doing it. He recognized it earlier because he himself had gone through the same process. Sri Ramakrishna tried accepting the thought of the Divine Mother, accepting whom he did not know anything else. So, the thought of the Divine Mother he could not remove. Totapuri helped him with a little bit of dramatic action of pressing a sharp edge of a broken glass to the forehead. That is also by the will of the Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother had removed that lost thought. Sri Ramakrishna merged himself into the Divine Mother, or Brahman. Saguna Brahma has become merged in Nirguna Brahma. Remember, Saguna Brahma is also in the form of a thought, but the only thought, a lost thought, that is Brahma Akara Vritti, Aham Brahmasmi. Even that has to go. There is nobody to say Aham or to say Brahman. When the mind is transcended in that way, then there is no Sri Ramakrishna. What remains is called pure consciousness, Shuddha Chaitanyam, Shuddha Buddha Mukta Chaitanyam. And Totapuri was surprised. What took me 40 years has been achieved by this person in a very short time, in a few minutes time, so to say. 3 days, Sri Ramakrishna remained in that condition. But for most of us, it is an ideal, it is only to inspire us. But for most of us, a tremendous amount of perspiration is necessary, and that is being indicated. Later on, Uma Sahayam, Parameshwaram, Trinetram, Neelakantham, etc., etc. That is, let us not identify this in a sectarian way with Shiva. This is the Saguna Brahma. And Saguna Brahma can be named by us as Vishnu, as Shiva, as the Divine Mother, as Jesus Christ, as Nirvana, as anything else. It doesn't matter. It is an aid. I am going to discuss about this Upasana system a little, which I had discussed in other context, but it is good to remember it. Having chosen, the Guru usually initiates the disciple into a particular chosen deity. That is, the Guru chooses according to the tendency of the disciple. What does the Guru really do? First of all, which yoga is most suitable path for each disciple, individually, separately. Is it Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga? Secondly, if it is Bhakti Yoga, then which deity? Is it Vishnu? Is it Shiva? Is it Devi? Is it Ganesha? Is it Surya? Is it Agni? Etc. We also know through some of the incidents that were there, Sri Ramakrishna instinctively recognized this person is a Upasaka of the Divine Mother. One of the incidents that we have to remember, once Holy Mother initiated a devotee into Shakti Mantra. I think Shakti Mantra, it doesn't matter. So the disciple protested. This is not the mantra. I have been practicing some other mantra. But Holy Mother said firmly, as I have given you the right mantra. It took some time, quite some time, for the disciple. He could not really respect the Guru's commandment, but at the same time, he could not overcome. He had tremendous faith in his own Guru, but after some time, his old samskaras have cropped up, and he realized that really speaking, many times without my being conscious, I resisted against what I was practicing, but now my Guru had correctly pointed it out, and that is how the Guru's purpose is, which form, which name, which gunas are most suitable for the disciple. And in that respect, I have also told you the story of the Rishi. First, he gave a general instruction, you meditate upon Brahman. Disciple could not meditate. The Guru soon realized he has given the wrong instructions. So he asked the disciple, what do you love most? And he said, I love my buffalo. And he advised him, now you meditate upon this buffalo as your Ishtadevata. And very soon the disciple joyfully merged himself and identified himself with that buffalo. So Guru's function, which path, which yoga, and which deity, which mantra, this is very, very important, especially in the Bhakti Marga. Even many people, they feel we are more fit for Jnana Yoga than Bhakti Yoga. I think most of them are wrong. How do we know? Because a person who has less emotion and much more intellectual sharpness to discriminate between many things, such a person alone perhaps can tread the path of Jnana Yoga. That is why in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, specifically answering to the question put by Arjuna, that among the Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga, which is easier? And Bhagavan Krishna says both paths equally take to the same goal, but Dehavadbhihi, those who are fully conscious of the Deha. Very interesting word. Dehavadbhi means one who has got a Deha. Ramakrishna also had a Deha. Holy Mother also had a Deha. And yourself, myself, we are all having Deha. Whoever is having a Deha is not Dehavadbhihi. What does it mean? One who thinks I am the body, he is the person. Conscious that I am nothing else but the body. For such people, it is very difficult to think of the nameless, formless, qualityless Brahman. Sri Ramakrishna is only teaching that. That's what he taught to M, etc. It is far easier. In fact, those who are capable of thinking of the abstract, in many previous births, the person must have gone through same steps, because the sadhana proceeds from the concrete and to less concrete to more abstract. There is no other way. Only we should not compare and judge the present state of the development only. So Saguna Brahma, the Guru teaches, this is your Ishtadevata and how to meditate upon him. That is going to be explored in the 11th mantra. Atmanam aranim kritva pranamam cha uttararanim gnana nirmathana abhyasat papam dahati panditaha. All the mantras in every Upanishad are beautiful, but some of them are very memorable. So this is one of them. So he says, what is this? Arani, making the ego the lower arani, and Om the upper arani, and churning through the practice of the path of knowledge. Jnana nirmathana abhyasa. A wise person burns up all the bondages. Very beautifully put here, and the same has been expressed in Bhagavad Gita also. It is the same thing which I will come. total. This is the path of self-surrender. What is self-surrender? The lower self has to be completely merged in the higher self. Before we proceed further to explore this 11th mantra in the Kaivalya Upanishad, we have to understand first what is this arani. So, 2 pieces of firewood. First of all, this arani is a special type of dry wood, and by just rubbing, just as we churn, our mothers, sisters do that in the early morning, like churning, like moving it left and right, etc. And even today, this is what happens. Then they put a few flimsy pieces of either cotton or small pieces of wood or dry leaves, etc. As soon as the intense heat is produced, and that will catch fire, and a wisp of smoke will be coming out, and very soon they add a little bit more, and in no time it becomes a fire. This is a way of bringing out fire. This, by the way, we all do not even remember. One of the greatest discoveries in the very superiority of human being is the capacity to produce fire. One is invention of the wheel, which made transportation. Another is the production of fire. Before that, people used to depend upon lightning and forest fire, which occurred naturally. It is a long history. I am not going to go into that. But whenever our rishis, munis, wanted to do some specific yagas and yagnas, even if they have fire, every time they have to go through this process of producing fire freshly, and for every time they start churning the arani, there are special Vedic mantras which need to be uttered, that is, invoking the divinity there. And that symbolism is taken here. It is symbolic. There will be 2 pieces. One is the upper piece and another is the lower piece. The lower piece will be having a small hole, and the upper piece will be like a well chiseled out, like a pencil, let us say. And then putting the sharp tip of this pencil into that small hole, and with both hands, one go on churning it left and right, and then slowly by that rubbing, heat is produced. And that is how the fire has to be kindled. Now what happens when the fire is kindled? That the lower piece of wood as well as the higher piece of wood, both of them become consumed, and you cannot distinguish it. What is the lower, what was the lower, and what was the higher? Both become absolutely one, and they turn into ash. Even that is symbolic. In its ultimate final stage, there is no difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. Here, the lower arani is the Jivatma. What is Jivatma? I and mine. In other words, Ahankara. What is the upper arani? That is symbolized here as a Pranava, Omkara. And Omkara should be contemplated upon until the lower self is completely, it is destroyed or rather transformed into the upper one. We get a beautiful analogy of this in the Mundaka Upanishad also. Dva saparna saija sakhaya samanam riksham parishasva jate tayoranyah pipulam swadati anasnan chakasiti. There are 2 birds on the self same tree, and the upper bird is absolutely serene, peaceful, unperturbed, and looking. But the lower one, it goes on eating what is called prarabdha karma, sukha and dukkha, and when there is an exceptionally bitter fruit, and it gets disturbed, and it immediately looks up and finds the upper bird. And then so, I want to be like that, always happy. What is the difference? The lower bird represents occasional happiness and a lot of suffering. Upper bird represents eternal happiness, Satchidananda. So I want to be like that. Man's life, animal's life, insect's life, every life is nothing but constant seeking of unbroken happiness. So this is the lower bird was on doing sadhana, and then slowly it approaches near, and when it approaches very near, it finds there are no two birds, there is no I and it. Both of them are become one. But the higher bird actually doesn't exist. It is only the higher nature of the lower bird. Then it becomes absolutely peaceful. So the upper bird represents the highest ideal, and we are also trying to achieve the highest ideal, but by mistake we are seeking it in the lower spaces. So this is beautifully explained here, that Atmanam, that means the self that we are now, that is to say our egotism, etc. Aranim Kritva. That is what arani? That is the lower arani, lower piece of wood. And what is it that makes this lower piece achieve oneness with the higher? That is called Uttara Aranim. Uttara Aranim means the higher one. And what is that higher one? Pranavam. Pranava means Omkara is another name. Pranava is another name. So this Pranava, Prakrushta Rupena Nava, always it will be exactly the same. And go on churning. Jnana Nirmathana Abhyasa. Abhyasa means habit, continuous struggle. And what is it? Nirmathana. Go on churning. Like the Samudra Manthana. Jnana Nirmathanat. That is knowledge. That is the what knowledge? I am not what I think I am. I am what the scriptures teach me what I am. Jnana Nirmathana Abhyasat. And go on doing it. One day by the grace of God, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Who is Jnanavan? The person who is going on, struggling, churning, doing sadhana. And with each step, the lower self becomes less, and the higher self becomes nearer and nearer, more manifestation of the higher self. And such a person, when he completely burns down all the I and mineness, he is called a Pandita. Remember, the Bhagavad Gita's very first verse starts, Ashocyan Anvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasumscha Na Anushocanti Panditaha. So Pandita, a really enlightened person, not scholar, but a wise person, never grieves. Why? Because in his understanding, there is no birth, there is no death, therefore there is nobody who is dying, who is going to be killed, and who is going to be the killer. Such problems do not exist at all. Just as we go on enjoying a cinema, a drama, everything happens there. But people are not agitated. In fact, the more realistic it is, the better we are going to enjoy it. This idea is repeated. Whether it is Christians or Sufis or Muslims or Buddhists or Jains, anybody, Hindus, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, paradise means the complete demolition of the lower I. There is no other way. Sadhana starts with that so long I have been thinking I am so and so. That is the highest reality for me. But in reality, this is not real. What the scripture tells, that alone is real. The very first struggle is to accept that I am wrong and the scripture is right. And that conflict itself takes a long time to be overcome. Because my day-to-day experience is I immediately react to whatever happens, and I react either positive way or negative way, only depending upon whether I judge it as beneficial to me or not beneficial to me. So this is a process of complete self-surrender. So the jiva is to meditate upon the nature of the infinite truth as described in this 11th mantra. By this process, the jiva slowly but surely gets detached from the encumbrances of its mind intellect and thereby comes to recognize its essential oneness with Brahman. Pranava is the sound symbol of Brahman, a supreme reality. The mantras we utter, whether it is Panchakshari Om Namah Shivaya, Ashtakshari Om Namo Narayanaya, Dvadashakshari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya, they're all nothing but ultimately to be merged in only that Pranava, which is called Omkara. And the philosophy of that Omkara, and Omkara consists of A, U and Ma, and that is how the sound box within every creature works. And the best alphabet for this purpose is the Sanskrit alphabet, whereas English one is struggle, only 26 alphabets. But the Sanskrit one, any language in any world can be pronounced if one is very familiar with the Sanskrit alphabet. That is not difficult. It will, of course, requires a little bit of practice, because whatever sound anybody uttered, is uttering and is going to utter in future can all fit comfortably within that range of 52 letters. So this process of meditation, which is called complete self-surrender, in the symbolical language of that Arani, lower Arani and upper Arani, is described in a metaphor where yagnas and yagas. And that is the real purpose. Yagna means sacrifice. Sacrifice in Sanskrit is translated as bali. Bali means what? Bali means not killing an innocent animal or not even offering a coconut, which represents the head of every human being. It looks peculiar, but it looks like the head. So that is not the real bali. Real meaning is that this aham kara, should that kara, as Ramana Bhagavan used to say, there is no difference between aham and ahankara, accepting that kara is our idea of separation from pure aham. If we can burn out that kara, and then what remains is aham. And when we attain to that state, nobody can say aham jivaha or aham brahma. And nobody can say I am Brahman, because there is nobody to say. Pure aham just is. All the descriptions for the sake of teaching only. So in Bhagavad Gita also we get beautiful idea, a little more flavorfully described here, especially in the 6th chapter. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet atma eva hi atmanah bandhuho atma eva ripuhu atmanah. Elevate yourself through the power of your mind and do not degrade yourself For the mind can be your friend, and your own mind acts as your arch enemy. And then which mind acts like a friend and which mind like an enemy, beautifully described in the very next verse. Bandhuratma atmanastasya ena atma eva atmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varteta atma eva shatruva. For those who have subdued the lower mind, the very mind acts like a friend. And for those where the lower mind bosses over, controls, then that very mind works like an enemy. In simple modern language, when a person develops a spiritual mind, everything becomes positive. Even if somebody were to cut his throat, he will say, it is the beloved. Just as these are not simple mere words, these are all incidents that are said. I will give you 2 instances. Mirabai was sent poison, and there was no secret there. She was told, this is a poisoned milk, and you drink it, and you will die, you will have to die. It's like Japanese harikiri, and when the order comes, the fellow had no option but to kill himself. What was the reaction of Mirabai? She said, I have no problem because I do not exist. Only my beloved exists. So whatever she does, she attributes it to Krishna. Krishna stands for her as God. She doesn't exist at all, like Prahlada. So she offered it and drank it, because once a person offers to God, and what does it become? Prasada. And what does prasada do? It makes a person, that prasada becomes amrita. So pivatu mera vishapyala ranane bheja. Rana has sent this poisonous cup. Pivatu mera hasire. The Mirabai is drinking it. Hasata means exuberant joy. She is drinking because it is the prasada of the beloved. What is it? It is not the Rana who sent it to me. It is Krishna himself who sent it to me. For our poor, ignorant eyes, somebody who hates her had sent. But in the eyes of this great devotee, everybody is Krishna. Who is Rana? Krishna. Who is a friend? Krishna. Who is an enemy? Krishna. Just like there is a beautiful story of Rabia. Rabia was criticized severely by jealous mullahs, and some of them were supposed to be very sincere and highly advanced Sufis themselves. And somebody came and reported, Rabia, you are being criticized by these people. And she did not say anything. Are you not worried? So she said, no, I am so much in love with God, I have no time to think about what this fellow, that fellow, the other fellow is talking about. I have simply no time. So that was the attitude, and nothing of course happened because it was not Krishna's will. So there is a beautiful saying, if Rama wants to kill somebody, who can save him? And if Rama wants to save somebody, who can kill him? Similarly, there is a story. In the gospel itself, we get this story. There was a Sikh devotee, and he was a great Rama Bhakta. And one day, his own sided soldier, a Muslim, stabbed him. For whatever reason, we don't know. And he was on the point of death. At that time, his other soldiers discovered him. They revered him very much, and they asked him, who stabbed you? Just name, and we will take him apart. He laughed and said, it is Rama alone who came and stabbed me. He is not seeing anything. And there is also a parable of Sri Ramakrishna, which you remember. A sadhu was beaten black and blue by a wicked man. And when he was coming back to consciousness, somebody was pouring a little bit of milk. And he was asked, do you recognize who is giving you milk? Instantaneously, without thinking. He said, the same person who beat me earlier is now feeding me with milk. What a beautiful illustration, illustrating this highest truths. So this is what is called our greatest problem is our own mind. This, of course, is put in a very beautiful way in some other way. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh. A conquered mind is the greatest friend. An unconquered mind is the worst enemy. That is being said that, O Arjuna, let every sadhaka uplift himself by himself. What does he mean by Atmanam? Here Atma doesn't mean the Atma. Here it means the mind. Uddharet. One should uplift oneself by one's own mind. So there are two types of minds. The Asurika mind and the Daivi mind. But with the help of the what is called positive spiritual samskaras, we should slowly through sadhana conquer all the Asurika samskaras. And then na atmanam avasadayet. Suppose a person slips from the path while doing the sadhana, and even if he slips 1 billion times, we should never get discouraged. Na atmanam avasadayet. Never feel depressed at all. What a psychological truth, let alone spiritual truth. Even psychologically, this is very helpful for us. Why? Because a subdued, controlled mind is one's greatest friend, and an unsubdued mind who becomes our boss, it gives endless trouble to all of us. And that is being expressed in the next sloka. For those who have conquered the mind, it becomes their greatest friend. For those who have failed to do so, the mind itself works like the greatest enemy. All the sufferings we go through are only because of the problems of the mind. Ultimate essence of all scriptures is we are our own greatest friends, or we can be our greatest friends, and at the moment we are our greatest enemy. That is why Buddha specially emphasized and said the greatest enemy is not outside, but it is one's own self. Enough of these recollections. Now I would like to speak something. The sadhana is called upasana. The very word upasana, remember, every Upanishad, the greatest Acharya, Shankaracharya, had given such beautiful meaning of the Upanishads. Upa, ni, sat. Upa means approaching. And when a person approaches, whom? Whom means Bhagavan himself. Because Jnanam and Bhagavan are not two separate objects. Jnanam is Bhagavan, Jnanam is Brahman, and Brahman is Jnana. And from the mouth of the Guru, what comes is nothing but Brahman only. So when a person approaches the Guru, Shraddha Bhakti, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshyanti te Jnanam Jnaninaha Tattvadarshinaha. When a person is ready, every single syllable that issues out of the Guru's mouth becomes a beacon light to help that person. Approach, upa means near. Near means approach. Just as when we approach a blazing fire, the nearer we approach, with the nearer we get the fire. But don't stop there. Become one with fire. What do we become? Fire itself. And if we substitute that word fire with Jnanam, we must become Jnanam. In other words, everything in this world is a manifestation of knowledge only. I have explained it in other context, there are no objects. It is only vrittis, jnanam only. Upasana, asana. Asana means that which the normal sense it is a seat. But here it is not a seat. He who is seated within ourselves as the antaryami. When as we go on approaching, we become slowly like that. Finally we become him. This is beautifully described in the Vaishnava scriptures which we have explored earlier. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya and Sayujya. And the same process that as we approach through sadhana, we become more and more like the ideal that we are having. This is called upasana. And this upasana also are 5 types as indicated in the Vedas. Vedas, Vedas, every Veda, as I explained earlier, is divided into 3 classes. First is Karma Kanda, second is Upasana Kanda, third is Gnana Kanda. Now, don't jump from Karma Kanda to Gnana Kanda. It is not possible. Our rishis have found out a formula. While doing Karma Kanda itself, so many upasanas are prescribed. There are 2 types of upasanas, Karma Angibhuta and Swatantra. Angibhuta means part of the ritual itself. For example, when we are worshipping Sri Ramakrishna, we first meditate upon him, Hridaya Kamala Madhye, Rajitam, Nirvikalpam, etc. And then we continue with our worship. This is Angibhuta, Karma Angibhuta, part of the ritual itself. Then we have got this, what is called Swatantra Upasana. This Pranava Upasana is a Swatantra Upasana. No karma is needed. Just sit there and then contemplate. Upasanas are of 5 types. But there are lower upasanas and higher upasanas. And very briefly, I will enumerate them. And what is so marvelous about it, Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, and they practiced all the 5 types of upasanas. I am going to explain with these examples. First is, of course, Pratima Upasana, Pratimopasana. What is Pratima Upasana? Pratima means an image. What is it? These are all images of gods and goddesses. They are called Pratimas. And a Pratima may be a picture drawn on paper, or a cloth, or a 3-dimensional idol Vigraha made up of stone or metal. So these are called Pratimas. But don't mistake them as Pratika. That is a little bit different and much subtler, much higher. Where does Sri Ramakrishna start his upasana? As soon as he entered the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, he became the pujari first of Radha Krishna and later on of the Divine Mother Kali. So Radha Krishna were also made up of an image that human-like, but not necessarily human-like. For example, if somebody wants to worship Garudopasana, a Garuda, an image. This is for those minds which cannot really even lift up their minds into higher realms of imagination. All are imagination only, everything. The whole sadhana is nothing but pure imagination in the mind. So, Pratima means a concrete image which reminds us, for example, Rama, Krishna, Devi, or Dashamahavidya, or whatever you call it, Jesus Christ, Buddha, etc. It can be a picture drawn on a paper or on a cloth. Sometimes it could be even drawn on a piece of stone. For example, in Varanasi, there is Sankatamochana. And if you look, there is no Pratima there. A big piece of stone is there. I think it is stone. And in that, a faintest imagination of 2 eyes and etc. And you have to imagine, because every day you see thousands of Hanumans here, you will have no difficulty at all. But it has been awakened by great souls doing tapasya there. And so this is called Pratima Upasana. That is where we have to start. Then Pratika Upasana. But before I go further, I forgot to tell you something. This Pratima Upasana also has a lower step, and that is called Nama Upasana. What we normally we call Japam, or repeating the mantra of one's own Ishta Devata with after initiation or before initiation, whatever, that is called Nama Upasana. And second is Rupa Upasana. That Rupa Upasana, a particular meditation on a imagining our chosen deity in a particular way, that is what is called here Pratima Upasana. Then there are other people who have progressed a little bit further. It is called Pratika Upasana, Pratikopasana. Pratika means literally going towards. What is Pratika? Is a symbol. This is also called aniconic group. So there are two types, One is very gross, another is aniconic, means it represents. For example, yantras we call it, mystic diagrams, mandalas, and we have seen even Buddhists use them. Elaborate care. It takes hours and hours even to prepare. If you have witnessed any homa in any one of the Ramakrishna ashramas, you will see how the pujari has to draw. So this is called pratika. It can be yantra and it can be mandalas or some type of diagrams with different colored powders, or it can be salagrama, a certain type of stone, and like Shivalinga, like saligrama, etc. Or it can be only just a pot containing water, for example, Mother Shitala, etc. It is not as gross as a pratima, but it is a symbol, and that symbol, definitely that symbol, even when we see the pranava or onkara written, that is also pratika. It doesn't resemble a human being, etc. So this is Ramakrishna's father. He worshipped Mother Sitala. We know that how Mother Sitala used to appear to him in the far guise of a small girl, and he used to wonder, "Who are you, my child?" And then she was holding the flowering branches which he was collecting at that time and lowering them so that it would be easier for him to collect the flowers. And in reply, she used to say, "I am Shitala." And he understood, because he was such a pure soul, Mother Shitala. Then one day he was sleeping in a vast field under a tree, coming after finishing his work, puja, etc. perhaps, and then he dreamt that Sri Rama appeared to him. And by the way, Sri Ramakrishna's family all belong to Ramachandra's family only. That is why most of the names are Rama. Shuddhi Rama, Hriday Rama, and Ramakrishna, and Ram Kumar, and Rameshwar, etc. Even some of the female names also, somehow Rama has been added to that. He had a dream. There, this God comes and he is eager to be worshipped. We may not be eager to worship him, but he is very eager to be worshipped. He will also find out, this fellow is not likely to worship me. So for such people, he will not appear. Because God also is a psychologist, superb psychologist. He understands this fellow is a very gullible fellow. And if I appear to him, then he will believe immediately. So he appeared and said, "I am lying here. Nobody is taking care of me. I want you to take home and worship me." And then this Kshudiram got up. First he thought he had a dream. But the Ramachandra crystal clearly showed a spot in the dream, and Kshudiram's eye caught that. And this is what I have seen. And he had faith. So he approached, and then he saw that there was a salagrama and a snake with unfurled hood is protecting that. But fearlessly, Kshudiram had stretched his hand to take that salagrama, and immediately the snake disappeared, and he brought it home, examined it, found it out according to the certain characteristics. It is a true salagrama that is representing Bhagavan Vishnu. And ever since he has been worshipping it. And if some of you happen to go to Kamarpukur, it is still being worshipped in that small temple. You can request the priest, and even that Mother Shitala's pot also, you can see it. So this is called Pratika Upasana. And of course, Ramakrishna himself used it to worship. He also did Homa. Every Homa is nothing but Pratika Upasana, etc. This is how some of the devotees approach. This is called Pratika Upasana. Then there is a third type of Upasana, very well illustrated in the Vedas. This is called Sampad Upasana. Sampad means wealth. An inferior object is used as a symbol, and it is given the highest superior reality attributed. It is called, what is called, you can even say, in our bhavana, in our imagination. And this is, an example will be Salagrama or even Shivalinga, and so many other things are there. So this is an example of Sampad Upasana. For a devotee who has faith in that, a Salagrama is not a piece of stone, but it is none other than Vishnu. The symbol itself, the Salagrama itself, is absolutely only a piece of stone. But it is forgotten that it is a piece of stone. And it is looked upon as the highest reality, only it represents Bhagavan Vishnu. That is why Hindu priests are so particular about when some Muslims wanted to destroy Hindu Shivalingas, etc., including Vishwanatha of Kashi, and they threw it into a well, and much later only it was brought up by Rani Ahalyabai, and the present temple, I believe, was constructed by her. And at that time, the rush was very small. That is why even now, when thousands and lakhs of people are visiting, it has become a handicap actually to have the darshana. Anyway, so this is what is called Sampad Upasana. That means what? You can take a piece of cloth and you put swastika there, or you put Sri Chakra, anything you put, and don't look upon it as a Sri Chakra, but it is nothing but Mahalakshmi or Shiva, and then worship it. Because everything depends upon the bhavana, our imagination, and with faith, of course. And then there is a fourth upasana. It is called Adhyasa Upasana. What is the Adhyasa Upasana? What is the difference between Sampad Upasana and Adhyasa Upasana? The symbol itself is of a very superior value. For example, Vedic times, the sun, the moon, the fire, and all these used to be worshipped, especially the sun. So that is why it says, the sun is Brahman. This is the instruction. You go on meditating upon the sun. Sun, of course, is the most superior deity. And if at all we have to say Pratyaksha Devata, a God in its most manifest form, visible form, is nothing but only the sun. Because without the sun, the moon doesn't exist, the stars do not exist, life itself will not exist. There would be nobody to cognize what is creation, what is earth, what is planet, etc., the world itself becomes non-existent. Without the help of a cognizer, the world doesn't have any independent existence at all. This is called adhyasa, means superimposition. You take the sun and it is not really a superimposition, it is only removing the veil. Removing, as we see in the Kaivalya Upanishad, Hiranmayena patrena satyasya apihitam mukham tattvam pushan apavranu satya dharmaya drishtai. So, just deep, if we delve, and then we will see that one, no doubt about it. So, this is called adhyasa upasana. Then the highest upasana that comes is called aham graha upasana. Meditation on particular type of ideas, on, for example, Hanuman, on Radha Devi, on Sri Rama, on Sri Krishna, which abundantly we see in the life of Thakur, Ma, Swamiji, direct disciples, etc. Aham graha. Graha means catching hold of. That is why crocodile is called a graha. Once it catches, it is impossible to get out of its grip. Aham graha means what? That self-grasping. That is to say, self-identification. So, for example, you take the light, you lit a small lamp and go on looking at the light and then say, I am that light. Aham is identified with that light. Aham is identified with fire. Aham is identified with Omkara. This aham graha upasana is the highest possible upasana. But as I said, we like a climbing a staircase, pratima upasana, pratika upasana, sampad upasana, then adhyasa upasana, finally aham graha upasana. And as an example of it, we get in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, marvelous examples, 14 or 16 examples are given. He who dwells in the earth, but is within the earth, whom the earth does not know, whose body is the earth, and who controls the earth from within, he is the inner ruler, he is your own immortal self. These are the roughly 5 types of upasanas. There are minor types are there, and this is a marvelous explanation how the lower arani and upper arani had to be churned really, which we will talk about in some more in our next class. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. May Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda bless us all with bhakti. Jai Ramakrishna.